Hello, everybody. I'm Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. I want to talk about Kickstarter. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because I've seen a lot of discussion over the past, I will say, 6 weeks about using Kickstarter in addition to Indiegogo. So, traditionally, we'll kind of set this up for you. Kickstarter is known to be a woke company. How is that different from any other company? Frankly, it's not. Indiegogo is actually at least a forward-facing woke company. As you could see in Pride Month, they did a lot of virtue signaling. Again, how is that any different from Skittles or any other company? Virtually any company that you can see trying to virtue signal. So, what makes Kickstarter a particular woke evil when it comes to companies? Well, part of it was this person, Camilla Zong. I'm going to say her name wrong. She posted this on Twitter fairly recently, on July 21st, and said, "I may be too outspoken for my own good." That right there is a sentence that sums up what her career has been like over the past year to 2 years. And that is when people have had power, like Camilla, they abuse that power and make ideology the most important thing. When they hear woke companies say that they're woke and whatever their values are, they take it to its logical conclusion or its logical extreme and kick people, ban people, whatever they can do to get people off the platform that they don't see fit to go there. Since that time, Camilla has been fired from Kickstarter. And Camilla has gone through several different job iterations surrounding crowdfunding comic books to bring her to this state where she makes the statement, "I may be too outspoken for my own good." That's important. Now, what I never heard from Kickstarter was an apology of, an expression of, we feel bad that we, kept people off of our platform for really silly political reasons when their books had no politics or hatred in them. Didn't make any sense. We apologize. They didn't do that. And in fact, no company today will do that whatsoever. So the strange thing is that the world that we live in now is a world of self-isolation. This is what scares me. Again, I've been really happy with Indiegogo, but I do think that there are people on Kickstarter, probably majority of people, that don't care about Kickstarter's politics. To them, they're just another woke company. They might be on Kickstarter, browsing through campaigns. They might be backing comic book Kickstarters, and they might even be interested in backing my books or your books. Okay. And they might not care, or they might even genuinely hate the wokeness. The chances are pretty high because many people do hate it, but they just tolerate it or ignore it because it's virtually everywhere. So the thing that scares me is self-isolation or a set of rules saying that you shall now boycott Kickstarter forever because of the actions of Camilla Zong and her company at the time. The reason why that's scary is because I'll take us back a couple years here. When I made the announcement that I was going to be published with Alterna Comics, I had several people who were very upset with me. Most people were really happy and supportive. Several people were not happy about it because they thought it signaled that, I was quote unquote leaving, which is the strangest thing in the world to me. It made no sense. And then I found out some people, their problem was the direct market and having comics go through the direct market. That was somehow a no-no. And, so on and so on. So when I think about this, SJWs can do a certain amount of damage to you, and that is by keeping you off platforms in some cases. But how much damage is it possible to do to yourself if you refuse to use any of these platforms, if you refuse to actually compete with these SJW books? Would we know there are people there that are also sick of the same stuff? They're just not quite that plugged into the internet. They've got lives to live, the same thing comes up with Twitter. And I start thinking about Twitter. Twitter's one of the most woke companies I can think of. They're known for kicking people off for saying the wrong things. They will control what is hate speech and what is not hate speech. Twitter is a terrible, awful platform. And they desperately try to be as woke as possible. They kicked the president off of their platform for crying out loud. Like, do you see where I'm going here? Is using Twitter, why? The question is, why is using Twitter okay, but using Kickstarter is not okay? What's the difference? How about Patreon? That's another company that's also very woke and has kicked people off. I'm thinking of, in particular, Sargon of Akkad. There are many others as well that were considered hateful people. Therefore, Patreon kicked them off. Should you be using Patreon? Okay, so I could go down a list of companies, and the question is, at what point are you isolating yourself from customers that don't care about politics? They just want good comic books. They don't know where to find them. How do I, as a creator, find those people? Now, before anybody gets upset, I think Indiegogo at the moment is still a place that makes me happy. I like launching my books on Indiegogo. I have toyed with the idea and thought about it as, posting a campaign, for example, like a reprint of Downcast on Kickstarter, and doing absolutely zero promotion, sending no backers to them, but just leave it out there like a fishing hook to see who I can find. And if I add 30, 50, 100 people to my mailing list that back my books there, then I can then promote to them and send them to Indiegogo, or if, whatever, for whatever reason they want to use Kickstarter, I guess that's fine, right? That's fine. So I've toyed around with that as well. I fear that if I ever did that, people will be so upset because it has become a social faux pas, rather than a logical step for growing a successful comic book community or comic book business or publish or anything. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me as a whole. So what I'd love to see is for Kickstarter to show some kind of a commitment to being ideologically neutral, and or allow for people that launch campaigns on Kickstarter to be ideologically diverse. If they showed a commitment to that, that would make me a lot happier. I don't think they're ever going to do that, just like I don't think Indiegogo is ever going to make some kind of a statement that support my personal politics. I don't actually expect companies to do that. That's actually what SJWs do, which hence the virtue signaling. So it's an interesting place in time, and I like to see where things go. I'll be honest, for me, my big goals are to get my book out to as many people as possible. And I want to be competing with the comic books that everybody says that they hate. In order to do that, I'm absolutely going to have to get wider distribution. And I'm not talking about Kickstarter at all. I'm just talking about getting books out to people, bookstores, like wherever books are sold, Amazon. I know that you could have a lot of problems with Amazon as well. But again, Amazon versus eBay, these are all just platforms. They're places where people buy books. And there are a lot of normal people, good people everywhere, all over the internet that want to buy those books. But I want to make that, and I think I have a responsibility to make that as easy for them as possible. So you can see I'm a little torn on this issue, but I wanted to sort of give my insights on it, my background. What does this mean, Clint? Nobody freak out. Literally nothing is changing. I'm just thinking about, what all of this means. So I'd love to know your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. If you think I'm onto something, let me know. And if you've thought of something completely different, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And I'll see you in the next video.